U.S. President Donald Trump once again en route to the World Economic Forum in Switzerland. So his plane returned to the U.S. Just after takeoff due to a minor electrical issue, we are told. He is expected to face off against European leaders as his bid to seize Greenland threatens to tear the transatlantic alliance apart. You might have seen Trump mocking them a day before leaving for the World Economic Forum, but leaders are closing ranks against his stance, with French President Emmanuel Macron vowing to stand up against what he's described as a bully. The European Union itself also promising an unflinching response. Arabile Gumede live for us from the Swiss ski resort. Arabile, good morning. We've been exchanging notes since the news, of course, of that plane, Air Force One, being diverted, and we understand Donald Trump now finally on his way again. Just talk to us a little bit about that and some of the explanations given as to why the U-turn, at least in the air.
Yeah, so, Iman, what certainly happened is that Donald Trump has long complained about Air Force One. He's actually been saying that it's such an old airplane model, in fact, that Boeing would need to either have a new one for him or he'd have to get one himself. And let's not forget that very recently he actually got one. Got a plane given to him then from, I think it was the Qataris, in fact, as well. So from the Middle East, he had then been given a plane and said that that should be the future Air Force One. That was unconfirmed in the sense that whether it would be used as it. But now, of course, we have this electrical issue that impacts Air Force One. And the big question mark then becomes, is that going to be a long-standing issue and something that now Donald Trump will fixate on and say needs to be changed? But that in itself has meant that he had to return to base for a moment, change airplanes, and he is still jetted on his way right here to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. So, as you made note of, it's all the other issues that I had played that he's going to be talking about, and really trying to say that his messaging needs to be the one that the world needs to look at. I mean, not so long ago, he had spoken about a peace council in which every nation would have to pay $1 billion to him to be part of that peace council, that each get one vote. And the question mark was, how exactly would that work? What exactly does a peace council even mean for Donald Trump? And the rest of the world certainly is now beginning to find its voice by the looks of things, especially the Europeans. And even another trade partner in Canada. I'll talk about Canada in a moment, but let's just listen to Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, as he made note of how this situation is stark and is not normal at all.
And here in the epicenter of this continent, we do believe that we need more growth, we need more stability in this world. But we do prefer respect to bullies, we do prefer science to plotism, and we do prefer rule of law to brutality. You're welcome in Europe, and you are more than welcome to France. I mean, it doesn't make sense to have tariffs and be divided, and even to threaten now with additional tariffs. We can use the crazy thing is that we can be put in a situation to use the anti-coercion mechanism for the very first time vis-à-vis the US if they put additional tariffs. Can you imagine that? This is crazy. I do regret that. But this is a consequence of just unpredictability and useless aggressivity.
So I guess you can hear then from the leader of the French nation saying that actually this does not make sense. You cannot be putting so many tariffs as well in place. So that will be one key issue. And the Europeans beginning to find the voice. EU's Ursula von der Leyen also making note of that yesterday right here at the World Economic Forum. On the other side, though, we also had Mark Carney, the leader and the Prime Minister of Canada. That's a big trading partner for the United States, one that he's now had a back and forth with the previous leader, being Justin Trudeau. He did have a big of an issue with that leader, that is Donald Trump, of course. And now Mark Carney saying that this is unprecedented. In fact, the way we've known things to be is actually under siege. Those were his words. Listen to this.
Let me be direct. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition. Over the past 2 decades, a series of crises in finance, health, energy, and geopolitics have laid bare the risks of extreme global integration. But more recently, great powers have begun using economic integration as weapons, tariffs as leverage, financial infrastructure as coercion, supply chains as vulnerabilities to be exploited. You cannot live within the lie of mutual benefit through integration when integration becomes the source of your subordination.
So if ever you were talking about nations that are looking at the situation saying we need to now finally push back, it seems like the World Economic Forum, the 56th annual World Economic Forum here in Davos, Switzerland, seems to be the prime place to do this now, to push back against what Donald Trump has done. Let's remember that he has just been celebrating 1 year in office. It's only been 12 months that Donald Trump has been in office, and I can tell right now that a lot of the sentiment is around what he says next. And tonight will be an interesting one. Iman.
And interesting is one adjective to use, Arabile. I can think of far more caustic ones. That is the state of play as things stand. And this is an interesting global moment as well. Arabile Gumede and our team in Davos, Switzerland. More updates from them later. Stay warm.